All right, I just saw this article, and I'm a tad bit infuriated, incensed by it. The reason why is because it's typically been circulated with an image of Trayvon Martin puffing what's presumably marijuana smoke, and clearly he's like the only person who's ever smoked marijuana, especially a teenager. I mean, people just don't smoke marijuana unless they deserve to be shot. And it's also been circulated with a picture. Apparently, the message is, or the rumor is, or perhaps the fact is, a picture of a handgun that he had posted on his Facebook, along with this picture of him puffing marijuana smoke. So now you've got handgun, not used on anybody, plus or a photograph of a handgun posted on a Facebook by a teenager, plus a picture of him smoking marijuana. Clearly, George Zimmerman had every right to murder him, right? I mean, is that the message? It seems to be. Now, a lot of people have commented on the irony that it takes shooting an unarmed black youth in order to get white America to support a Latino dude carrying a gun. And it is a bit ironic, because had Trayvon Martin been white, a politically defined category, of course, then I really don't think you'd be seeing this sort of support. Now, I want to talk about this. Well, first of all, let's here's the image. Actually, I popped it up a little bigger, but it's I guess by putting those together, as it's been circulating, there seems to be an implied equation. They're saying gun plus marijuana smoke coming out of Trayvon Martin's mouth equals justifiable homicide is what the tacit implication is. Zimmerman prosecutor withheld evidence. Well, it's strange, because I'm not sure how that's evidence. Mr. Zimmerman would not have been legally justified in shooting another person simply carrying a firearm, even if that was an underage person carrying a firearm. Had that firearm not been drawn on him, Mr. Zimmerman would have had no legal justification for quote-unquote standing his ground against someone even carrying an illegal firearm. Now, I'm not speaking as an armchair pundit. I'm speaking as somebody who's quite familiar with firearms, who had considered going into SWAT back in the day, who's done a considerable amount of training, who teaches martial arts self-defense, gun disarms, firearms tactics to qualified individuals who might want to know that sort of thing. I'm speaking as somebody who grew up in a rough neighborhood, who's had guns pulled on him, misfired on him, all sorts of things. I've worked security for people in the music industry in some of the most infamous neighborhoods in the United States. So this is not just me reading some articles. This is practical first-hand knowledge. I'm quite aware of what the laws are for escalation of force and use of lethal force, including in Florida, where there's this so-called stand your ground law, which offers absolutely no defense whatsoever to Mr. Zimmerman. The fact of the matter is this: you don't have the right to shoot someone who smokes marijuana. To even suggest this, to even post a picture of it, circulate it with this article, is obscene, and really is insulting to anyone who considers themselves a moral human being. it certainly is an insult to anyone who is a responsible firearms owner, and anyone who has lawfully and responsibly carried concealed. As well, I've been to all sorts of parts of L.A., South Central, the jungles, South Side, Chicago, and there are many times that I knew people were illegally carrying concealed, sometimes not so concealed, sometimes making it quite obvious, and under no circumstances would I have had the right to shoot them. To even suggest that is obscene, and what's even worse is when people who are so up in arms, pun slightly intended, about various elements of gun regulation, restriction, control, and in some cases banning, are offering this image as a defense, as though Trayvon Martin is to be convicted in the court of white public opinion based on having posted a photograph of a gun. Now that is with the white American assumption that he had and carried a gun. He did not have a firearm on him at this time. So no matter what, Zimmerman was not justified. Period. He has no defense. The one plausible defense that he could have offered, which I'm not even going to say because I don't want to give any tips to the defense. The one plausible defense he could have offered, he never offered, and he would have offered it by now had it been rooted at all in even a kernel of truth, in a kernel of reality. So that tells me all I need to know. There would have been one thing that Trayvon Martin could have done that would have legally afforded Zimmerman the right to use lethal force. And Zimmerman's defense has never suggested, nor did Zimmerman when he was questioned by the police, that this that this one thing happened. So again, when there are quote-unquote gun rights people circulating this image with this story, things like that, I have to ask, let's say you have kids or something, and you've taken your kids shooting. Maybe your kids are enthusiastic about it. There's certainly people like that in my family. And let's say your kid posts a picture of of a firearm in that they were taken to the range and shot. Maybe they thought that made them cool. Whatever. Is this a reason to shoot someone, an unarmed person, because they thought a firearm was cool? I know a lot of people who think firearms are cool. I live in the Midwest. I know a lot of cops who think that firearms are cool. I know. I teach a Tai Chi class. I know an old hippie who thinks firearms are cool. It takes all kinds, really. Does this mean that it's all right to murder them, shoot them unarmed, first to stalk them? And this is a very strange defense. It's a very strange equation that's being offered up with this image, and frankly, it's disgusting. But the reality is there are all sorts of youths, teenagers, who think firearms are cool, who were taken shooting by their family to the range, whatever. I've seen a video of one young lady who's, I think, 14, and she competes in Texas in this 3-gun challenge sort of thing. As someone who's trained with SWAT and that done all sorts of tactical training, frankly, I think for her age, she's amazing. And I've seen people in gun culture circulate that video of her at one of these tournaments, and it's really impressive. But I've never heard anyone say that. Look at this thug. Look at this girl. She thinks guns are cool. Isn't this horrible? She clearly thinks guns are cool. She's shooting a submachine gun, a shotgun, a pistol, all this stuff. Doing this whole course. Pretty interesting video. I'm not going to drag her name into this. She's a kid. But But pretty interesting video. I think she's a great competitor, a great markswoman, and that's that. No one would suggest that this young Caucasian girl deserves to die because she's had contact with a firearm. The only relevant legal question is whether Trayvon Martin had a firearm on him at the time, whether Zimmerman was aware of this, and whether this firearm was brandished in any way. It clearly was not. There was no firearm